There's us.
Like here, city government, to see if there's any functions here.
Because I thought we were all.
I thought so too.
And we were supposed to get 96,000 more, but that sure isn't 6.
Unless we're reallocating or something.
Yeah, we didn't, we need to see what we're reallocating.
Don't like these glasses.
Basically, this is backwards for what I'm typing. So you have a page for anything you need to write about. So like,
Yeah, if he doesn't come, just give it back to Mara, please. Thank you.
and then furthermore, you know, like, motion was made by White and Smith, seconded by Mark. They vote. I just draw a big line, and they all mark vote yes. I don't like.
So what is motion?
You'll go. Oh, you are here.
How's it going?
Well, it was a few minutes later and showered or not. Trust me, you'd rather the shower.
Still early.
Trying to get the house painted.
I'm glad you showered.
Yeah, trust me.
You're far enough away, I don't care.
I appreciate it.
Okay, or I might get distracted.
Did you have all of our pens now?
No, I don't have any. That I borrowed from somebody.
I don't know.
To give them support.
Sounds fun.
My bad.
Yeah, it'll go to Myra.
I couldn't order less. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll put it right here.
You're gonna need some right first.
Now read a basket, put the baskets in Stephanie's office. So just have a put it. Oh, like drugs.
All right, are we ready? 7:30 having arrived, I'll call this meeting to order. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is roll call, please.
Mayor Wycombe,
Here.
Vice Mayor Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Durst,
Here.
Councilmember Gardner,
Here.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Weisenberg.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the October 4th, 2022 City Council agenda as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the October 4th, 2022 City Council agenda as presented. Any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you very much. Next thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of September 20th. Councilman Smith,
I move to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of September 20th, 2022 as presented.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of September 20th, 2022 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a public hearing. This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. It's a resolution authorizing a CDBG grant to repair and replace the City of Rawlins water infrastructure transmission line and air and blow-off valves. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to that at this time? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that public hearing. We'll go on to the next item, which is also a public hearing. It's a resolution authorizing a CDBG grant to update the SCADA system for the City of Rawlins treatment plants. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that at this time? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that public hearing. Go on to the next thing on the agenda, which is public comment. It's a time that is set aside for citizens or whoever would like to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Noting that because of resolution number 2C-96, it does set a time for public comment under this portion of the agenda. Is there anybody that would like to speak now? And if so, please just come forward, state your name, and tell us what you would like.
Honorable Mayor and Council members, my name is Crystal James. Firstly, I would like to start off by saying thank you to the Council, the City Manager, the Public Works Director, and the City Engineer, and all the city employees for all the hard work over the last few years. Last year, my husband and I were very concerned for the future of this town when the water leaks were found. Then we went out south last winter only to discover that the work had already begun, which was very exciting. We know it has not been easy through this crisis, but we want all of you to know that we see you, we appreciate you, and we pray over you daily. We know now is going to be a trying time because we are losing our city manager, but we want to encourage all of you to please keep up the good work, because we need you. It was not too long ago that we all sat in this room very disappointed in what was happening with our council and our previous city manager. And we were so proud of all of you that took a stand and said enough was enough, and you ran for office. And it seems the city has begun healing, and we do thank you for that. However, I stand here before you today deeply saddened. Mayor Wycombe and Councilmember Weisenberg, who is not here today, but I will be sure he gets a copy. If I would have known the mistreatment that has been happening behind the scenes these last few years, then I would have been standing here a long time ago holding you accountable. This was a time for you to shine and to be an encouragement for those who come to work daily, trying to do their jobs to the best of their ability. To find out that trust has been broken because of the way you have treated people is highly unacceptable. As a leader, it is your job to motivate, build trust, and support employees so that they can go out there with their heads held high and do what is best for this community. Yet we find ourselves in this moment where we are losing a very valuable asset, because that trust has been broken by the way you have treated him. And we know many who are not too far behind. Because when you are continuously broken down, why would you want to come to work? And the only excuse I continuously hear is, that is just the way they are. That is just the way they are will not be tolerated. Because how can you expect employees to grow as individuals when you yourselves have no room to grow? Allow me to remind you that being in a position of power makes you no better than any other, as we are all the same in the eyes of God, and everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. As a citizen of this community, in which I know many of us love, I am here to say to you respectfully, if you're not willing to change and you're not going to continue to be a part, if you're going to continue to be a part of the problem instead of being a part of the solution for the betterment of this community, then it is time for you to step down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I'm Tanya Lumen. Just to make sure, you will take public comment about the award of the most municipal solid waste. Is that correct?
That will come at a little later date.
Okay.
When that comes up on the agenda, that will be a time when we will take comment on that. But since it is on the agenda, now is not the proper time for that
I just
subject.
wanted to make sure. I had something else to talk about, but I wanted
Sure.
to make sure that was it. I do appreciate the previous comments. I am very disheartened that Mr. Metcalf is leaving. I was looking forward to perhaps working with him. He has always been very progressive, and I feel quite the leader in getting us through a very difficult time with our water. And I feel in the future we are going to have an even tougher time as our city changes, as families leave, less children, less workers, and we shift from families to contractors. We really need somebody who has a vision for a united Rollins and where we're going in that direction. And I feel I want to thank Mr. Metcalf for what he's done, and I hope that the council can find someone of equal measure to take over, because it's going to be a real difficult job. Even more so if he was treated in the way that I have heard. I had multiple people say that members of the council have been yelling at employees, cussing at employees, threatening the jobs of employees. No one person on the council has the right to fire any city employee. That's up to the city manager. And no one person on the council has the right to fire the city manager or the city attorney. That is done through a vote. That is done through a council, not through one member. I was happy to see at the back an ethics policy. I think this is very important, that the professional and personal conduct of members while exercising their office must be above reproach and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Members shall refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of the council, boards, committees, commissions, the staff, or public. The best thing I like about this ethics statement is Part C. It's one thing to sign and say, yes, I'm going to be good and behave like an adult and not a 2-year-old toddler. But it's quite another thing when you have teeth to it. And this has sanctions. This has things that can be done if you go against the ethics that are listed. Again, I would like to thank Mr. Metcalf, and I hope that all the people that he's brought here to work for us will consider staying, will consider Rollins their home. And for those who did disobey or disappoint this city and personally attacking our city employees, I hope they apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come speak? All right, hearing none. The next thing on our agenda is a presentation of the Community Builder Award for October 22nd. I would ask members of the volunteer committee to come up.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, thank you. And members of the volunteer committee, if you could join us. So we're here this evening for the presentation of the Community Builder Award. This award is a monthly award the city presents to local businesses, individuals, and organizations for their volunteer service, sponsorship, promotion of programs and events, outstanding service in the interest of the city, and for other contributions significant to Rollins' quality of life. So the volunteer committee is extremely excited and happy to present the October 2022 Community Builder Award to Becky Perkins for her outstanding service and contributions to our community. And I'd like to pass the microphone off to Mr. Robinson here. He'd like to say a few more words.
Honorable Mayor and Council, first off, you'll probably notice Becky is not here. She's had some major surgery within the week and is not able to be here. We're hoping to have her here for the first meeting in November to actually say hi, those kind of things. So, Becky Perkins started with the Fire Civil Service Commission when it was in its infancy, like before it was even officially organized. That was in 1989. She was appointed to that board in 1990 and has held that position to date in all of 32 plus years. Becky's been a big part of the community. She served and worked with the U.S. Postal Service for 33 years. Left there, worked for the county for about 6 years. She has since pretty much retired and is enjoying life now, as we all hope to someday. Anyway, she loves the Rollins community for the family feel it has and for the close-knit people. When we were talking, she basically talked about the fact that Rollins is family, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're related to everybody. And I totally have to agree with her that, there's a lot of family and those kind of things. So with that, Becky Perkins, but I'm here to. I'm going to do this myself.
There we go. We'll take another photo with her. Good Photoshop. All right.
All right, thank you. And Becky, if you're listening, thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda is proclamation. It's Fire Prevention Week. I will read this proclamation. City of Rollins, Wyoming proclamation. Whereas the City of Rollins, Wyoming is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Rollins. And whereas Fire Prevention Week is observed each year during the week of October 9th in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire, which began on October 8th, 1871 and killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, destroyed more than 17,400 structures, and burned more than 2,000 acres of land. Excuse me. And whereas the United States Fire Departments responded to 1,353,500 fires in 2021, and whereas these fires caused roughly 3,800 civilian deaths, 14,700 civilian injuries, and 15.9 billion in property damage, And whereas today's homes burn hotter and faster than ever, the residents may have as little as 2 minutes to safely escape a home fire from the time the smoke alarm sounds. And whereas it is important for everybody to plan and practice a home fire escape, and whereas practicing a home fire escape plan twice a year ensures that everybody in the household knows what to do in a real fire situation. And whereas Rollins firefighters are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and public education. And whereas Rollins residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to educate the public about the vital importance of knowing your fire escape plan. Therefore, I, Terry L. Wycombe, Mayor of Rollins, do hereby proclaim October 9th through the 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this community. And thank you to the firefighters.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Madam Vice, and members of the council. Just so you know, I think you pretty much said it all right there. We have a very, very busy week, the 9th through the 15th. We're doing fire prevention presentations in all kinds of different venues, kindergartens, Project Reach, United Methodist Preschool, as well as opening up the fire station the entire week for anybody to come on in, say hi to us, bring whoever you want to in, take a tour with us. Like I said, it's going to be a very, very busy week for us, and rightfully so. If you have no other questions, I will take my seat.
I just want to thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
The next thing on our agenda is a proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we join together to prevent domestic violence. City of Rollins, Wyoming proclamation. Whereas domestic violence in rural communities exists as a hidden, silent, and often unrecognized reality that may not be reported to authorities or is underreported, and whereas we need to challenge the assumptions made about domestic violence, become proactive in preventing domestic violence, and hold offenders accountable. And whereas Carbon County Cove and other agencies, organizations, and state coalitions across Wyoming and the nation are committed to preventing domestic violence by promoting prevention awareness campaigns, educating the community, and advocating for victims' rights. Now therefore, I, Terry Wycombe, Mayor of Rollins, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Rollins, Wyoming, and I urge all citizens to join together to prevent domestic violence. And in witness thereto, I have hereto set my hand and caused the official seal of Rollins, Wyoming to be affixed to this 4th day of October 2022.
So I have a couple of flyers of the events the Cove's going to be hosting to pass out, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
So on Saturday, we're having the Pet Walk, Pulse for Peace, and basically it's so we can continue sheltering animals and families together and victims in the shelter. So we're going to be raising money for dog food if something happens in the carpets, getting those cleaned in case somebody's allergic. And then on the 28th, we're going to be having our purple pumpkin painting contest again. And then at 7, we're going to be having a candlelight vigil to remember those. So that's what we have going on.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. We all appreciate what you do. Thank you so much. Yes, Councilman Martinez.
I just want to take this time to thank Carbon County government of Cove for all the work that they've done. And it reminds me of a city council member that sat with me 15 years ago. She's passed away since. She was the first lady to come to the city council and present the domestic violence program to the city. And she was the first director of Carbon County domestic violence organization here in Rollins. So her name was Pauline Gonzalez. And it reminded me of her when I read this on the agenda.
Thank you, Debarry. All right. Next thing on our agenda is DDA Main Street and Hub reports.
Honorable Mayor and Council, good evening. So I'm going to hand everything out at the end. But the first thing, I just wanted to invite everybody to Art Beat this Friday night from 4 to 8. Lots of fun activities. We have 4 different activities, all free. You can make a wind chime, you can paint a picture, you can come watch Jared do chainsaw, but we have 4 different activities between 4 and 8. So Darrell, let's start that. We have 11 artists as of this afternoon, plus they're still coming in. We have food trucks, so it's just a really good fun evening. Streets will not be closed because people are running around, but we'll start all the way at Aaron's establishment at Geekus Things, go up to 5th Street, have a new business, well, it's not new, but like Kim Gale's going to be at Tropical Rays back downtown. She'll have YO food trucks. We'll have Maquano, and then we'll have La Barrita. So that'll be a really fun evening. Here's some stickers. The next thing I wanted to let you guys know, super exciting. I was just made aware last night, or yesterday afternoon, that the City of Rollins and Rollins DD Main Street has been chosen. The Smithsonian is going to be doing a new traveling exhibit starting in 2023 through 2028, and Rollins DD Main Street has been chosen to be part of that traveling exhibit across the United States. The picture and the story will be of Steve Sanger and his wife Mara, which is kind of fun, working on the flower pots and talking about volunteerism and how it's so important to run a program and to be involved in your community. In 2020, the actual exhibit is called Spark Places of Innovation, and the state of Wyoming is scheduled for 2024. So the first year, they're going to 4 different states each year, but in 2024, they'll be in Wyoming, and we've already put our name in to actually, we're hoping since we have part of the exhibit, we can get the exhibit in Rollins, Wyoming in 2024. So super, I got the call from the Smithsonian yesterday. So we signed all the release forms, and Steve signed away that they could plaster his face on this exhibit and travel. So it's super exciting. And then the last thing I really wanted to take a few minutes was to talk about the Startup Business Challenge, the Carbon County Business Challenge. I have posters if you guys would like them for your businesses. I was not in charge of getting posters out. That's part of Megan's job, the executive director, but I do have additional ones. But I really want to make sure that everybody's clear. The Carbon County Startup Challenge is a program through Impact 307. We've talked about this, which is part of the University of Wyoming Innovation Partnerships, Impact Carbon County, and investors like all of us in this county. There are other business challenges across the state. The Carbon County Startup Challenge looks for individuals who are interested in starting a new business or early-stage entrepreneurs wanting to grow. Through the local Startup Challenge, Impact 307 provides a monetary incentive and the business support needed for contestants to act on their ideas. Finalists will be chosen by a panel of judges and work closely with the Impact 307 staff, which will be most likely Megan Curley, which is our executive director here in Carbon, to develop their businesses in their local areas. All finalists will gain business process knowledge as they progress through the phases of the competition. Regardless of the competition outcome, each finalist will be prepared to launch their new business and simultaneously improving their likelihood for success. Impact Carbon County's office is at the Business Innovation Hub at the Hub, and the Hub is also one of the sponsors of the event, but really Impact 307 and WIP are the two main sponsors. And any other, we are taking investments. They are taking investors and investments. So if anybody would like to donate to the Startup Challenge incentive, monetary incentive, please let Megan know. But we're super excited. I think I mentioned the other night that we had, I think, 8 already signed up, and you have till October 9th, which is this coming Sunday, to sign up if you're interested in doing the business challenge. So any questions? Just exciting that we're having this. And I know Sweetwater County just had their pitch night. Oh yeah, and our pitch night, which everybody's invited to, is Thursday, December 8th at the Parco Hotel. So anybody can come watch the pitch night. So yeah, super cool, great program.
That is.
And excited to be part of it. So yeah, so I think
Thank you, Pam.
Yep, thank you.
All right, the next thing on our agenda is city manager and staff reports.
Andrew, can I have you come up for your part? Thank you. Andrew's going to talk about our CDBG applications, and there's kind of a special effort going on right now. It's a lot of people have heard about, and I'll turn that over to her.
Well, the resolutions are on the agenda for later, and I can answer questions about that then. I want to give you all an idea of what's going on. It's been advertised on the radio this morning. There's going to be a newspaper article coming out. It's on our Facebook and on our website. We wanted to apply for CDBG for $1 million for the transmission line and $1 million for the SCADA system. However, one of the HUD requirements and WCDA, the Wyoming Community Development Authority requirements, is that we have 51% low to moderate income. According to their statistics, we're at 49%. We're 2 points shy. So I advocated for us that with the Sinclair layoffs of 111 people and the energy downturn in this community for the last 2 years, because they're going off the 2020 census, and a lot has happened in this town, for the city, for the last 2 years. So they did find an exception with HUD that we could do our own survey and try to prove that those numbers have gone up to the 51 or higher percent. However, it's going to be a heavy lift to get this done. The grant's due October 31st, and we have to go to 452 houses. We have to get 350 houses done, and we can only have a 20% non-responsive rate. So today we sent out letters. I can give you all a copy of the letter if you'd like it, to give people advance notice that somebody from the city will be coming to their house to do a 5-question survey. It's anonymous. We don't have anybody's names. WCDA picked the addresses from a cookie-cutter approach across all the areas of the city of Rollins, and Sinclair is included in this as well, and sent me unique identifiers for each address that we'd have to go to. But the people have the option of filling out the survey, putting it in an envelope so nobody has access to their information, and it gets sent to them to compile it. However, they do have the option, and we hope they exercise it, of calling in, and we have the phone set up to do the survey over the phone. If people are, they get an envelope with their unique identifier on it. They don't have to say their names. They just have to say what their identifying number is, and we correlate that to a survey, and then again, send it in so it'll be compiled. We're really trying to get the word out. This is a really heavy lift to get this done in time. And I think there's a hesitancy when the government comes to your door and says, I want to know what your income is. I would be skeptical. So we're really trying to let people know this is an opportunity to help us get water funding. And it's not that we want to know their business, or not that we're being invasive. We're trying to do everything we can to keep anonymity there. But this is what they're requiring of us to do to prove that certain percentage is met. It's worth $2 million. We just have to have the citizens' cooperation, and you all talking it up would be helpful. Do you all have any questions for me? Okay. If you need to, I can send you copies of the survey. I have them in my office if you all want to look and see what the questions are. Or I'd be happy to bring them in during the break. Okay? All right. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. It's everybody. This has been a big team effort. Big team effort.
I see that.
Next, I want to see if I could call Tom up for a second? Maybe, I think we might have an update on the financial audit when they're giving us our first draft.
Sure.
Sorry to catch you on the
No,
spot.
Sure. Honorable Mayor, City Council, in speaking with our audit firm, they are about 98% of the way through what they call field work, and that's their testing phase. And I was promised a draft of the financial reports by the end of this week. Once we receive that draft, there is a management discussion and analysis section that I will write in there and get that back. And then once I go through the draft, they'll be able to issue that report. So based on that, I'm hoping within about a week and a half, or 2 weeks, we'll have the 2021 audit complete. And I'm probably half of the way through the reconciliations for the 2022 audit. So that one will go much quicker than what this one has, so.
That's good news.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks. Just a couple more items. We released the behind the scenes today, and for members of the public that don't know what that is, each department produces a report on their accomplishments and the things that they're working on each month. And it's just if you're interested to know what's going on with each department, it's a really great publication. Coming up here pretty soon, every year we've done a community engagement survey, and we're getting ready to do that, so that'll be in November most likely. And for those that are unfamiliar with that, basically it just is kind of a measurement of how each department is doing, kind of measuring our progress, and it's been a good, very informative tool, so continue to do that. Another important meeting that's coming up, which I think all the council's aware of, is the SLIP meeting for the $7.5 million. I think a couple of you are attending. Mayor, you're going? Linda's going? Tabari's going? Okay, that's awesome. And I know that we've received some letters as well in support of the project, so that's huge. Hopefully we'll be really successful with getting as much money as we can. That'll make a huge difference for the water infrastructure. And then lastly, as everyone is kind of aware at this point, I've tentatively accepted a position as city administrator with Hastings, Nebraska. I'm still in negotiations with them and should know early next week. I'll let the council know about finishing up those negotiations. I'm also writing a letter to the community just about the positive things that have happened over the past 2 years. There's been a lot of good things that have happened, and I'd like to focus on that. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. No staff reports? Okay. All right, next thing on our agenda is city attorney report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I have nothing to report at this time. I await your instruction.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is direction from City Council to the City Manager and City Attorney. Councilman Smith?
Yes, a colleague of ours visited with Debari and I about 15 wells in the community. And we got to thinking about this, and the city only owns 2 of those, I believe. But we were thinking the Sage Creek line is going to take 3 to 5 years. I'm told that wells do not cost a great deal of money. They should be around $20,000 from this one company that has visited with other folks. And it may be more, but there's already a well at the cemetery. And it's going to be some time before we come up with $3 million to finish that project. It's a 6-penny project. So to make sure that we have enough water and it isn't potable water, I had asked Austin and Jason if they would look into that. And also, we were talking about, do we have enough potable water coming in now that we could lift the restrictions? So could I have Austin and I'm picking on Jason too to come talk about the wells if they would a little bit. And I did ask.
All right.
I was going to talk about.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, so in that discussion about the cemetery well, it's been something that we've seen as a potential resource for a while, and we're looking into it currently. I'm approaching two contract firms to do potential flow testing and water quality testing, and with those with the well currently in the state that it's in, we really should go and have that equipment pulled out in advance of the test. So there's a lot that's going to be included in that, and so it's just the test. I'm anticipating somewhere around $20,000, but honestly, I don't know. This isn't even. I don't know. It hasn't been bid out yet, so we don't know what those are going to come back as. And so with that, the adjudicated water rights are an issue of discussion that I think we should look into. The city attorney and city manager and I should look into that with Public Works Director and see what the adjudicated water rights are for the cemetery well. It looks like it is considered miscellaneous, and so that it can be used for multiple purposes and not exclusive to the cemetery. But we just need to make sure where that water can and cannot mingle with other waters to make sure that we stay within our right. And with that, I would anticipate that the testing could take probably a couple months from getting the bids to an award to actually going and doing the testing, with it being under $35,000. If we see those numbers exceed that amount, then we'll go to a standard bidding process for that. So, but as far as the cost of a well, I know that I've heard discussion about different parks having their own wells and things like that, but we don't have rights for that at this time. We'd have to go to the state and make a request for those.
Could I interrupt you just a moment? I've asked the city attorney to look into what it takes to get the well permits with the state engineer's office, because I fully believe that we could. I know the rock structures up at Washington Park is going to be a little bit harder to drill up there, but I think in the end, and into Bolton Park, and we need to take care of Martinez Park. But I'm thinking that if we can put in wells, that will handle those from 3 to 5 years, or maybe even permanently, until we get all the money collected. That's a 20-year bond, 20-year collection. So we're not going to be able to do all these projects at once. And I think when talking to Jason, I think that there's a possibility of doing VFW Park. Was it VFW, Jason? Across from the county? Right. Okay, yeah. So that's what I was thinking, and if it's okay with the city manager, I would like them to continue exploring that, because I think it's an answer to some of our issues. And it will save a lot of money on potable water. Then we can go full bore ahead on the Sage Creek line. So that's what I'm thinking.
Councilman Martinez.
Yeah, I too was excited about getting the information on these wells, and I had actually thought about it a long time ago, but I never did bring it up. But anyway, I wanted to thank a colleague of ours that called us and went over it with us. The other thing I'd like to bring up is, in reading the material, the amount of money that the city would save with our first plan, which was to take and tap into the line that brings the river water and waters the cemetery, is $64,000 a month. If you take that for 6 months, 6 months out of the year, and if you take that times 20 years, I mean, that's big chunks of money. So my thinking was, the council decided that we would raise the water, which I tried to make an amendment and I lost, and that's fine, that's the way the system works. My second thing is thinking is that if we could get these wells going, just maybe we could drop the usage fee $1 to help residents in this community that are not as fortunate as some that make a lot of money, that live on a fixed income. $1 out of the usage fee would, and I still think that would not hurt the city, based on the amount of monies that we're going to save if we put these wells in, or if we use the water from the river to water the cemetery and ballparks. The other thing I want to bring up too is, why is it that middle school can water their lawn with a well, but we can't water our cemetery, our parks and stuff without going through a big permit system and all these things? And that was my question was on that.
Okay, so I'd like to speak to that in detail. So out of the 15 wells that are being discussed, I'm sure somebody pulled that off of the state website for the wells that are existing that are permitted. The city has 2. One would be the 200 and it would be the cemetery well, and then the other would be the Rollins Springs. So I believe that they're adjudicated for 250 GPM and 5 GPM respectively. Excuse me. And so in that, those are the only 2 that the city owns. There are a couple others. There's one at the fairgrounds that belongs to the county, and then there are some that are in or out of the city limits that belong to private individuals. Outside of that, we don't have any other wells that are available to use for the city except the Nugget wells that we're getting about 600 GPM from consistently at this time. So those are our current wells that we have. With that, I do believe that we could look at the cemetery well. I think that it has been proven. It's a good source of water. I think that we should definitely chase after that and look at that. So I totally support looking at the cemetery well. And the pleasure of council with city manager about the other considerations for future expansion of our well system. And in that too, currently in the current stage that we're at with our flows, I'm going to turn over the floor to Cody Dill, our Public Works Director, to discuss about the current situation, about what water we have.
So currently, I mean, we can probably get off water restrictions pretty soon, but with this heavy rainfalls and the construction that we've had, our source water, where we get all of our water in because of all the construction work on there, we've been experiencing some what we call slugs, dirty water coming down the line, which we've had to shut the plant down a couple of times. Until we get some kind of ground cover in there to where we're not getting muddy water in the system, the plant goes up and down, and so we're still worried about our tank levels right now. We've got a plan to try to remedy that, but with these heavy rainfalls, it basically is creating a small creeks and standing water right on top of this mud, which is going through the ground and introducing itself into our water line, which we cannot let that get into the system. So until we get some kind of coverage on that, we really need to watch our tank levels in case we need to shut the tanks down and rinse out our clear well again. So it's just in the best interest of the city to just keep this going. We're going into the winter season. We're seeing a lot of parks and residents blow out their lawns. I would just recommend that we just keep this restriction going through the rest of this season while we get through this tail end of the phase of construction where we're worried about dirty water being introduced. And that's my recommendation to council.
Okay. Do you have any further questions?
I guess there was some information that you had, Jason, on permits or something that you could impart.
Sure, Honorable Mayor, Council. At first, I would say that I would support looking into the potential of drilling wells in our parks. I think it's a good solution depending on the cost. I don't know what the costs are associated with it, but it's worth something looking into. One benefit is if you have a well in a park, you connect the irrigation system. We would still want to use treated water for the restroom facilities and drinking fountains and things like that. But it's worth looking into to see what the cost analysis looks like. I did talk to a resident today and was made aware of some information this afternoon. In 1977, the city actually did get permits for wells at Washington Park, Bolton Park, as well as Tully Park. I had never heard that until this afternoon, and so I thought that was interesting. However, those permits were later canceled in the late 70s, and it says because of lack of funding. So that must have been right before that, kind of that boom when the city was really flush and we built a lot of parks, I think in the early 80s, so it must have been right before that. But I do have some of those permits. I haven't had a chance to talk to Austin or Wendy, but I share that information and where to locate that. But I found that to be interesting anyways.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Vice Mayor Wells?
Wendy, did you find out any more about the tattoo? Where are we at with that?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your hard work.
I have a sample ordinance from another city that I am trying to work with. My plan is to draft it up, send it to council and health and to the citizens who were requesting it to get an all-around view of whether or not I'm going in the right direction. It is in progress.
Sounds good. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Is there anything else? Councilman Garner?
This is in direction to city manager attorney, but I submitted or supplied everybody the code of ethics to review. I'd like to try to get discussion on the next meeting or the following one if possible, but just that's why that's on your desk today. So.
Well, just so you know, I approved the agenda on last Thursday, and I was asked to put it on the agenda, and I did. And then somehow, even though it's my agenda and I'm supposed to be the one setting it, it got removed from this meeting. So we'll look at it at the next meeting, but just so you know, I was asked to put it on the agenda, and I did.
Right.
And then somehow between Thursday, when I approved the agenda, and when I received the agenda, it was removed. Just so you know.
Yeah, we were sick last week. My wife had COVID, so I didn't think I was going to make the meeting, so I had called to let him know that since I was presenting it, that I probably wasn't going to be here. So.
Okay. I would suggest that all of you read it very closely, because there are things involved there that are not copacetic with state law, and we would have to totally redo the structure of our city to implement some of those rules. So read them very carefully, please. All right, anything else? All right, so the next thing on our agenda is unfinished business, and it will be an ordinance. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve on third and final reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rollins Municipal Code Title VI, Animals, which clarifies responsibilities and consequences associated with nuisance and vicious animals.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve on third and final reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rollins Municipal Code Title VI, Animals, which clarifies responsibilities and consequences associated with nuisance and vicious animals. Is there any discussion? Vice Mayor Wells?
I just want to thank Wendy again for this. I think it's very much needed that we have something in place.
And Wendy, would you like to, for the people at home, kind of explain what we're doing here?
Yes, Mayor. I have tried to rewrite this code to make it both more clear and to have more protections for anyone who is the victim of a vicious dog, and also to allow officers to do a better job serving the public for nuisance animals. I have redefined some of the requirements of what a vicious dog is considered, the steps that can be taken if a party wants to continue to own that dog, and also pretty strict requirements and fines to allow that, to make sure that dog owners are being responsible owners and our citizens are protected.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Wells?
I just want the public to know that this was brought to Wendy's attention because of several dog bites. It wasn't just one incident, but people are getting hurt. And so now we have a mechanism to ensure that people are safe.
Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is to approve an award of a municipal solid waste quote for hauling. Councilman Smith?
I move to approve the award of service agreement for municipal solid waste hauling to Dirty Boys for, and I don't have that figure.
It's in the summary, Linda.
It's down
Thank
below.
you. Well, thir-
1,768.
Yes, and then I'll explain later.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the award of a service agreement for municipal solid waste hauling to Dirty Boys in the amount of $18,768. Councilman Smith?
Yes, I would like legal counsel to make sure that I'm saying
I'm
this
sorry,
correctly.
Councilman Smith, point of order. Since you left the last time, I think you have to leave this time as well. Right?
Is that true?
Mayor, I do believe that it's still your choice. Though you chose to leave last time, I still believe that the issue that you had does not rise to the level of requiring you to leave. I believe it is still your choice.
Just to keep things clean, I'll step out. Don't eat all my candy.
Or at least share it.
Yeah.
It's the root beer I'm after.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
may I continue?
Yes, go ahead, Linda.
When you look at all the quotes and the 7,200 that's provided for as a service that's not reducing the 18,000, there's somewhere around $450 difference, really. And we espouse economic development for the city of Rollins. So normally we award to the lowest bid. But I think under economic development, keeping our businesses in Rollins and trying to give the business to our own local folks is really important. And therefore I'm asking you, that is a legitimate reason for awarding it to Dirty Boys, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so long as the council can justify the reason and the amount is not extreme, that it is appropriate to allow that.
So we're in order. Thank you.
Lou?
Madam Vice Mayor and Council, during our last discussion at our last meeting, there was conversations that took place with Mr. Martinez and Rose Kane. I had no knowledge or knew the conversation, so I have asked Pat to come tonight if there was questions for him. I've also asked Pat to reach out to Bruce from Wyoming, and I talked to Rose to come to this meeting as well. Just if there was some clarification that was needed, then now would be the time to get it from both companies and Mr. Martinez. I didn't feel it was right of me to speak in Pat's behalf, not knowing the conversation, and to make it fair, I invited them to come to this meeting as well.
Pat, would you like to come forward?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know what questions you have, but I will answer whatever you want.
Could you, Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Linda.
would you explain how you arrived at $7,200 for collecting of cardboard and all of that kind of thing?
That conversation was kind of just a social conversation. It was a public knowledge question, and I gave the answers to. It was just plainly, how many businesses do the city of Rollins pick up for cardboard? How many people does it take? How long does it take? And how often per week do we do it?
And it's based on your knowledge as an employee for the city of Rollins, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
But I did not give the numbers, I just gave the information.
Thanks, Pat. Did Rose or Bruce want to come forward? Oh, go ahead. Aiden, correct? Come on forward, Aiden.
All right. Vice Mayor Wells, may I approach the council to give out these? Okay. Let's see.
Is this information that our legal counsel has?
I believe so.
Some of it come from the city manager and the rest come from the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what in front, this first page I gave you is the 2021 bid that Wyoming Waste was awarded. So this first page is just displaying, to Dirty Boys that we did not get the bid. We, were lost a bid to the 11,046.40. And, it's just other text in there. But on the second page, this is where Wyoming Waste bid actually starts. So I just wanted to bring up this information because I feel that when a bid is a bid, it's supposed to be that number, that 11,046.60. It's supposed to be that number, no less, no more. That's the contract they're awarded. And so this is their bid. They're saying that, they're going to donate the police department, fire station, the other fire station, and then all their other recycling information. But if you flip to the last page, here is the actual number that you guys accepted, 1,146.40. That was actual numbers you guys accepted. Okay, and then if you flip to the second packet I got you, that looks like this. Okay, so this first page was January of 2021. So this was pre-bid. This was Wyoming Waste doing trash for the city, no bid. So if you look at the very, very bottom number, it says total Wyoming Waste System Rollins, $1,905.73. So that's how much you guys paid them for the date at the very top for December 24th to January 28th. So it was $1,900. I'll just round, to keep it simple. So it was $1,900. Okay, if you flip to the second page, this is February, $1,900 again. Okay, and like I said, this is pre-bid. This has no bid. It didn't come up to bid until after March. So if you flip to the third page, $1,900 again. Okay, so I'm on the third page. The very top is report dates 2/26 to 3/12. So technically this should be March. And then at the very bottom, total Wyoming Waste System Rollins, $1,913.88. Okay, so this was the last month of no bid. This was, them doing it for the city under no contract, no bid, no nothing. Okay, well, turn February. This is where Dirty Boys had lost the bid. Wyoming Waste was awarded the bid. And if you refer back to the very, very first piece of paper I gave you, it says that their bid was supposed to be $1,146.40. This, the payment approval report for the council, it's $1,194.26. So why is that more than what they had bid? Okay, so it doesn't stop there. That's just February. So if you continue to the fourth page, $1,434.40, a difference of $188. Next month, difference of $290.30. Next month, $292.58. Next month, $364. Next month, $302.92. Next month, $60.74. And then at the very, very, very last month of the year, December 2021, their amount that they charged the city was identical to the bid amount. Okay, so over the whole year, they overcharged you guys $2,250.52. Okay, so that was just 2021. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to print off 2022 for you guys, but so far this year, the bid is still $1,146. So far this year, so this is January currently, overcharged $146.97. February, $61.67. March, $67.19. April, $94.79. May, $176.10. June, $217.06. July, $223.14. And then August, $226.70 for a total so far this year. This report was made a little bit ago, but currently roughly $1,207.53 over their bid for $1,146. And that's just the information I'd like to give you, or I did give you.
Does anybody else have any comments? No, go ahead.
One thing I would like to point out is I did receive a list from Rose on the areas that she picks up for the city and hauls to our recycling center, which is, there's a total of 30 stops they do for us. So I have a printout that was given to me. If council would like to look at it, I'm more than happy to pass it out.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Lou. Did you say 30 stops? Lou, did you say 30 stops?
Did you have anything else?
No, ma'am, that's all I have.
Anybody else would like to speak? Okay. Please state your name for the audience, Tanya.
Tanya Lumen. I work at the Sinclair Refinery as a contract administrator, and I do bids as my job. And looking at your bid, it was very messy. Your bid is only going to be as good as your scope. The more specific your scope is, the better your bids are. We also use, I know she didn't use a construction bid form or bid form where you would have what you want, the hours and the price. Basically, it's your pricing sheet. If you had that, then you would have clear-cut numbers for each company, and it'd be easy to see which one's the cheapest, rather than going through a flower dance of their description of what all goodies they're going to give you or not give you or how they're going to do it. You still want that. You still want how they're going to perform their job and what all they're going to do. But a bid form would give you the numbers in a clear-cut form. Also, a responsibilities matrix, who's responsible for what. It's also very helpful. Because when it's the time to take that scope and make it a service contract, you then have all that information and you have that information available. My suggestion would be to rebid it with a more specific scope, and not only have these two bid, but also have the city be a part of that bid. How much would it cost the city to do this themselves? I think that would be beneficial to know as well. And I also would like to add a waste receptacle at the water treatment plant. I think that would be beneficial as well. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Any, oh, go ahead. Council members.
All I wanted to say was the reason the conversation got started to start with is because I believe in fairness. And when the question came up and Dirty Boy stood up and questioned how we went about doing it, that's how it come up. Normally, the way I see it is that you put a bid package together, you send it out to the different companies. They look it over, they put a bid on it. The lowest one is usually recommended by the staff to the council. And that's how it usually works. And I haven't seen any problem till now, and I don't understand why there was such a discrepancy. I just want to know that. Why was there such a problem with this one?
This was sent out by legal, and it was requested that the bids were sent to her office. Okay. So, just to do the follow-up, and being fair, like you say, Councilman DeBari, that's why I thought it would be right to have Pat here, to have Bruce and Rose. So if there was questions that came up, this would answer the questions that council had.
I guess what I'd like to see is be able to put out, and it doesn't matter if it's waste or whatever it is, put out a package that's fair to both, and then let them submit their numbers, and then the staff yourselves would go over them and come back and give us a recommendation. I think that would solve a lot of the problem. I was confused at why there was such a discrepancy there. I didn't think there should have been, but that's just me.
I'm gonna let Bruce go first.
And then
It's Bruce, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. Come on.
Mayor, Vice Chair, I'm here to answer any questions. I checked with Sean to see if the gentleman from Representative Dirty Boys is correct. I know that there's been fuel surcharges put on a lot of people. I don't think that's what the city's actually paid. That might have been something, I don't know where they came up with that, but I won't, say any different until it's looked into. If you guys got any questions, we came in with the bid. I did a little different this year than I have in the past because I actually was out in the trucks this last year here, picking up the city's garbage, and I didn't bid it on a per size container. I actually bid it on a disposal rate, meaning weight of the containers, and knowing what, I won't divulge what those containers weighed, but I actually took the time to see what was in those items and see what was in the containers. And that's why our bid actually came down this year. We put in new containers for you guys, and then the bid came down because I actually I didn't bid on the size of the container, I bid it on the disposal. So, and if there's any questions, like I said, I asked Sean and he doesn't really know if those numbers are correct. I couldn't tell you the truth. If they are, then we owe the city some money, there's no question, but I don't think those numbers are correct. Now, I won't verify that, but if you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer. And one of the things I wanted to say is, I spent a lot of time in Wyoming. I have a lot of districts all over Wyoming, and one of the things that we do get sometimes is this: we're not local. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that, and I can show you the numbers. I spend over $750,000 a year in this town. There is not many businesses here that put that kind of cash back into the city. There is not a lot, and that doesn't include utilities, property taxes that we own the building here, or anything. That's just wages, disposal, fuel. It all comes from Sinclair, buying local. You know, trucks are right now running, I think Rose will attest that I just bought a new truck for Rollins and it's $485,000. So when you look at what we're actually billing out, what we put back in this community, I'm really kind of sad that we're not looked at as, you know, we've been here longer than any other garbage company in the area. I mean, it's been locally owned by Pat, or by Rick and Pammy. I came in. So I kind of, I would like you guys to all look at, we're not the bad guy, number one, and we are local. We put as much money into this community as a lot of the businesses, and that's local. My employees are local. I shop local. You know, I can't get everything local, but we use the vendors here in town. And so I hope that you guys realize we're local. I mean, I may not be local, but I am Wyoming. And, you know, that's kind of local. I'm 307. So, but is there any questions you got? Go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. I appreciate you bringing all this money to Rollins. We really like it. We think it's a way to go. But fairness is fairness. And all I'm asking for is that the city puts a package together, hands it to you, hands it to Dirty Boys, you do your thing with it, come back with how much you're gonna charge the
More an
city.
RFP is what you're looking for, rather than a quote.
Instead of making a
That
bunch of
makes a lot.
changes,
Yep.
just do exactly what the staff has asked for. This is what we're charging, how much are you gonna charge, I mean, this is what we're doing, this, how much you're gonna charge us. I guess you do it that way, and then each company comes up with a number and submits the bid.
Gwendolyn, that would be an RFP,
Because I don't
right?
know, I can tell you right now, I don't know dilly about the landfill. I'm not gonna come up here and act like I know everything about the damn landfill, I don't. But what I do know is $19 and $20 is $1 difference. And that's what I look at when I look at these bids. And then I also take into consideration the work that the staff has done, because they're the ones that are putting these numbers together for us. And so that's where I was coming from. I'm not trying to start a
No,
battle
and
with
even what
anybody
Rose has
or-
put into her business as far as her cardboard recycling routes. I mean, you know, those, they're not cheap. I mean, she's still running a $300,000 truck to pick up 30 containers. It's a, you know, in that defense of her or both of us, it's very expensive to pick up some of this stuff, and she has done a very good job of you know, providing some services that we'd like to provide, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to get the okay. We just got the okay with your baler to be able to bring in cardboard.
And I don't look at you as the bad guy or the good guy.
Oh, that's all
I don't-
right.
I don't look at things that way. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes, for fairness, I would like you to tell us about the bid process, what you had to look at with apples and oranges and try to make this a fair thing. And then I would like to say, before you say that, is that if we had to rebid this, then everybody knows what the other person has already bid. So we're kind of in a box here. So I'll turn it over to you.
I'd like to explain the way this process ended up here. First of all, this is not an excuse, it is just an explanation. I used the previous format that was used to get these, we'll call them estimates rather than bids. It was a call for estimates. I used the exact same form from prior years and just redid the dates and sent it out. When we got the first set back, I noticed the discrepancy that the same things weren't being estimated. So I went back out again requesting clarification. That clarification was the best of my ability. It obviously was not written understandably enough to get us out of the pickle that we're in. There's also a difference between a bidding process and an estimate process, because for under $35,000 contracts, you do not have to do a formal bidding process where you send it out, request for bids, they come back in sealed, you unseal them at a certain date. That is for the larger contracts. For anything under $35,000, it can be estimated out or do an RFP. So that is the process of how we got here and why we did not do a formal bidding process. If we were to move forward, I do see your hesitancy because both have seen the numbers. However, if we did do a formal RFP, they would be forced to come back with line items so that they would be, as you say, apples and apples. So that is something that I would be willing to help with, but not take lead on at that time. I hope that clears that up.
It does for me, thank you.
Councilmember Durst?
Is there a legal way to, just for point of conversation, take both bids, average them together, and then say, we want somebody to do this job at this rate, and put forward a contract, if you will. We want this work done at this much a month, we'll pay this much, and then request signatures on said contract? Is that legal? Does that make sense?
That would be a standard contract negotiation, which is very legal.
Councilmember Singer, or maybe possibly future.
Soon to be.
Steve Sanger.
Citizen Singer.
Citizen Singer.
The only drawback to that is they both can dump it, and then you have to haul it. So then you're gonna.
Because they can walk away from it, you mean?
Yeah, and then you have to figure out how you're gonna haul it. So that would be the only drawback.
Well, have you-
One that is visible right now.
Okay. I guess, at the risk of, I guess it's all out there now. What I was kind of thinking was, is a potential to do either split it in half, right? Come up with the money and split the job in half, or come up with a 6-month. Does that make sense? Is that look a bunch of anger and hot? I'm just talking out loud. I'm not saying anything. I'm just wondering if what options are on the table. I mean, if we're clearly. At this moment, I feel like talking that, so.
If I may.
Please.
I think that the process so far has been, as Ms. Lumen said, very messy, and that is completely on me. I would recommend starting from scratch with an RFP process and allowing both companies to bid apples to apples.
Madam Chair?
Can I say something? The reason this whole thing got messed up was because of the recycling of the cardboard. The city offers free cardboard pickup for commercial businesses. And so Dirty Boys volunteered to pick up the city's along with all of ours. If Wyoming Waste gets the bid, they will pick up all of our commercial dumpsters because the city offers it for free to everybody in town. So we wanted to make sure he understood he wouldn't just be picking up the 2 or 3 that the city picks up for him, but he's going to be picking up all 30 dumpsters. And that was what was wrong with the whole bid to start with. And then there's also the one bid you requested to have picked up once a month. I have a contract, as you do, with the city that says we can't do that. We have to follow all ordinances. The ordinance says nobody can have their trash picked up 1 time a month. It has to be weekly. And so I did not bid it that way. I bid it according to my contract with the city.
Ours is busy once a week too. Can I explain, maybe Aaron? Even though I did it on disposal, we pick up the container whether it's got 3 bags in it or not. So it didn't really matter as far as, the once a week. I pick up, there is a container, I think, on the bid that wasn't every other week.
Yeah, that's at the train depot.
Yeah, and we pick it up every week because I'm right there. I just pick it up. We just pick it up every week. But it was written up, I believe, as every other week, Rose, or once a month.
It's bi-weekly, I think.
Bi-weekly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Every other-
we pick up everybody once a week except for there's some people up on the hill that we don't.
Okay, I have to say, that's not true either, because we have people calling us and counseling because you guys offer once a month pickup.
Madam Chair. Everything in my body tells me I want to be totally fair. And I do see some problems with rebidding, but in the interest of being totally fair, I would recommend to the council that I will make a motion to withdraw, I'll amend my motion to withdraw this, request for proposals or estimates and have it rebid. Not rebid, but what do you call it?
RFP.
Re-advertise, yeah.
Re-advertise.
Thank you.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All right, Myra, please open online voting when you're ready.
Make sure that
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 4 yeas.
I just want to thank everybody for being understanding in this process, and I'm sorry that we're having to go through this 3 times. We just want to do it right, and so I am going to call to get our other council members back in, but also take a 10-minute
I said, do you want to call
break.
a quick break before we go back?
Yeah.
Because I'd let you.
Oh, I need to.
I think that's better. This doesn't sound like a real clean.
I think you changed it to a friendly amendment, right? Okay.
Hold the fort down.
We didn't do this. It's just a friendly amendment.
In case everybody attacks us, I'll hold it back.
Motion to amend the original. And then I don't, if my understanding is this friendly amendment, I don't remember to write down the original motion. Because they all agreed to friendly amendment. Versus if they had done a motion and that
It was always done by rollers. Mrs. Attorney, please lead out.
probably say something.
Gallons of paint.
Okay, that's what we just got like maybe 500 in each. I don't think that was like, so I think now we're as I was speaking about you. No, I should. Sandra actually
Just think you're in this traveling exhibit. Tell him his mic is on.
The microphones are.
It was brought. Prepared to spend $3 million to run the other line without doing any other service to find out. That coach can be great.
It's not gonna be red. Apparently it's gonna be white now.
That's okay. That's actually better.
Yeah, but it would have been nicer to know that before 11 o'clock the night before I went to the game.
But anyways, that's what, I'm just saying it's under some.
So, yeah, so the permits have already been issued. Once every time they were issued, that was those had already been issued. They're not issued, but they'd been applied for and approved. Waiting for the start income condition of said well.
My argument with this council, I think they rushed too fast. I think that if we could get this well program, we could drop that damn usage fee. You should have a dollar to help some of these people.
So in total, I'm trying to figure it out today. In total, I think this is $1 million
They gave me a number of 60.
So you're gonna divide that by whatever what is $3.24 what is the $3 now? 1,000 gallons. Okay. So you're gonna divide your million by 1,000. That's gonna tell you how much money you're gonna save every single day that the city doesn't pay to have potable water. Figure that out.
So therefore, I think it's very conservative to ask for a $1 decrease.
Let's
on the usage fee. All I'm asking for is a $1 decrease on the usage fee, which will help a lot of these people.
So you're saving $3,000 a day.
Yeah.
That's how much you're not spending to make potable water.
Exactly.
A day. 30 days. You're making, you're saving $9,000 a month. Now divide that out. Divide that $9,000.
But anyway, that would be my, I don't know if I'm gonna be here or not, that was what I would like to see in Rollins. So we're not looking like we're gouging out on these poor people.
Right.
Take a dollar off, take a dollar off, and my God, I think the savings that we put by putting in the wells, when it covers the amount that we lose, that the people are not paying. So anyway, that's where I'm, so you know where I'm saving that much money.
Yeah, I'll be here. Carl, be here.
Let's say we're gonna give you back how do you do that? 3,000 taps, you just figure out how much water you're using. And say, we're giving you back X amount. We're gonna give that to you. By law.
Something like that. I just need some help on that, but I don't know, I hope I'm around to talk about it, but if I'm not, that's what I would suggest. I'm around talking to people at City Market instead of what they're just crying, how much is my water bill gonna be? Well, it's gonna be a lot higher.
It's gonna be at least 15. And then whatever. So yeah.
Famous last words.
I'd like to know.
No, but sometimes when you make loud enough for other people to hear. I think you just don't recognize that you have a problem. That was a brutal problem before.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I'm wrong. I don't visit with my I visit with the supervisor.
37? Can I get on your program? Can I get on your program?
I need to get on your program.
I don't want that. I'll type on keyboard.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of typing. I haven't got the computer, so.
Well, going for it. I'll hit you up. I'll get your phone. Yes, actually, that would be better than saying it.
I can start hacking
Thank you very much. Yeah, I will. With the correct spelling and everything on my name.
Sure. Yeah. That's right.
Start a bunch of
You know, unfortunately, there's just some people that's all they don't hear. They don't hear you until you get aggressive. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying yes, we should always yell and scream at each other. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying Well, I mean, there's a difference between citizens coming here and citizens. So there's a line between those two.
You okay?
The second I walk into a living room like this, it's just it's all that way.
Sleep on us over there.
I took a nap. Who wouldn't? Are you ready? Okay, I will call this meeting back to order. It's 9:05. And the next thing on the agenda is approve payroll. Councilman Smith.
I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of September, sorry, I can't read that, 30th? 10th, 2022 to September 16th, 2022, in the amount of $108,153.22.
Second.
It's been a motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable register for the period of September 10th, 2022 to September 16th, 2022 in the amount of $108,153.22. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is payroll. Councilman Garner.
Move to approve the September 11th, 2022 through September 24th, 2022 payroll register for $255,006.95.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the September 11th, 2022 through September 24th, 2022, payroll register for $255,006.95. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is a discussion, skate park naming. This will be a discussion only. I'll turn the floor over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'd like to start by just providing a quick, brief background. The Rollins Skate Park was officially opened on Wednesday, September 14th this year. And it's already been a very popular attraction to not only youth, but adults as well. I love taking our dogs to the dog park because it's a little bit elevated and you can look right down and see all the kids playing around at the skate park, and they got their scooters and bikes and skateboards, and it's just really great to see. So the current park that's in there now is made possible from efforts from the committee, or the community members, city staff, our city manager, and of course City Council here. City Council allocated $70,000 less than a year ago for the project. We actively seeked community input through through town hall meetings and going to the schools to get ideas for the design. So the current park that's in place includes that $70,000 that the city council allocated for that project. Since then, members of this fantastic community we have here have donated about $30,000, and with another approximately $10,000 of promised funding. So we're looking at $35,000, $40,000 towards expanding the skate park already. So the additional funding would go to additional features, more skate park elements. What we want to do is work with the community and work with City Council to get design ideas for what another, say, $35,000 would go towards, what we could provide. But also, Andrea and Myra has stepped up to help as well. There's a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant opportunity that's due end of November. And so it's a matching grant, so there's a 50% matching requirement. So this is a great opportunity for us to use local donations to match and double our money. So we've also asked Skate Park Company to give us ideas of what $35,000 would give us, and also what $70,000 would give us in case we are successful in that funding. So because of the additional funding, because of grant opportunities, we decided not to have like a grand opening, ribbon cutting celebration this summer, also because the park was installed at a later date than originally anticipated. So that gives council time this winter to consider if City Council would like to appropriate a name for the skate park, and then we could be prepared next summer to do a grand opening, ribbon cutting and all that kind of stuff, and kind of release what we'd like to name the park. So a few council members have approached staff and suggested that we consider naming the skate park after Joshua J.R. Rodriguez. Josh, or JR, I should say, petitioned city staff and city council in 1998 to build a skate park. He was passionate about the sport. He was passionate about bringing skating and a skate park here to the community, a gathering place for those who like to skate and like to be spectators rather than diverse and throughout the town and skating on businesses and properties. Also, a large group of skaters met with him and city staff at Rob Roy Park to talk about it. JR lived in Rollins his entire life, is my understanding, and his dream was to build a skate park. And so city council, a couple of members had asked to bring this on to the agenda as a discussion item. And if city council wishes, I'd be happy to talk with city manager Sean Metcalf and bring this to a future meeting agenda for an action item to officially name the skate park. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Vice Mayor Wells?
I want to thank Linda for suggesting it. JR was my friend, and he passed away in September of 2012. And he would be so honored to have this named after him. My husband and I also are donating a plaque. It's coming in the mail. It's going to be quite large, but it's going to have, in memory of some of the skaters that we've lost in Rollins over the years. And some of the names is obviously Joshua J.R. Rodriguez, but Robert Buda Bustos Jr., Trent Lovato, Zachariah Ostertag, and Tanner Nichols will also be named on there. And there is room for further names if we have to add names in the future, but he would be honored.
JR worked for us at our company, and he's a great kid, and he just loved skating or skateboarding and that sort of thing, and it was his passion, and him and his family would be just, I can't think of anybody that would, that deserves it more than to have it named in his name, and I know his family would be tremendously honored, his mom and grandmother, and he has a child and whatnot, that it would be really awesome to name it that. Anybody else got anything?
Do you need a motion, or do you want it to be brought back?
It'll have to be brought back as a motion, motion item,
Okay.
or as a action item.
Okay.
But I would favor that. How about you, Eric? Councilman Durst?
No, it's fine, yeah. Fine.
Councilman Martinez, you got a problem with that?
No, I think it's great. I like the
Councilman
name.
Garner?
I like the name, and it's on the right track where I'm at.
Okay.
All right, we'll bring it back at the next council meeting as an action item.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next thing on the agenda is approve a lot line adjustment. I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor Wells?
I move to approve the boundary line adjustment for a portion of Lot 3 and Lot 4, Block 58, UPRR 5th Edition to the City of Rollins, Carbon County, Wyoming, as shown on the attached record of survey presented and approved by the Board of Adjustments and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the boundary line adjustment for a portion of Lot 3 and Lot 4, Block 58, UPRR 5th Edition to the City of Rollins, Carbon County, Wyoming, as shown on the attached record of survey presented and approved by the Board of Adjustments and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any discussion? And I'll let you explain it. Lou?
Honorable Mayor and Council, this did go to Board of Adjustments and Planning and Zoning. When Mr. Soto purchased these properties, I'm reading my notes here. My glasses are, I better get them out of my pocket. We'll be here all night. This would be dividing two existing parcels which were combined by deed, 315, 315 and a half, and 317 10th Street. More specifically described as 920 West Pine, when this was taken to the board, there are 2 parcels, one which fronts Pine Street, the other fronts 10th Street. Both parcels have been combined into one deed. When Mr. Salinas Soto purchases, they are currently on the tax roll as having separate IDs and separate billing addresses. It is a non-conforming situation. No matter what is done, once these are split, it's still going to be non-conforming. There's no plans for any future building on it at the time. So this, like I said, we've been waiting to bring this to council for their approval to get this done and get it recorded. And I brought Mr. Doug Boyd here. If you had any further technical questions, he's the one that would be able to answer them for you.
I just have, just kind of an overview. What kind of pros and cons are there? Is there any drawback to taking this action, Lou?
No, currently the way the property is, there's not going to be any issues with parking because the parking's already established. They have separate utilities to these structures. So basically, like I said, it's going to combine where we have separate lots for future, if Mr. Soto decides to sell them at a later date, it'll be done legally instead of we'll still have non-conforming lots, but it'll be more usable.
Okay. Mr. Boyd, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I can answer any questions you'd like. It's a pre-existing condition, I guess, is a way to describe it. They're a non-conforming lot of Mr. Wow, I can't talk today. Anyway, our client is in the audience waiting to answer questions as well. But I believe he would like to take these lots that he bought individually and has been paying taxes on individually, and has remodeled, and he'd like to be able to sell them as an investment to someone else now as rental properties in the future, is my understanding. We do have a history of independent tax IDs that he's had on them since he purchased it, and independent tax bills. So we're trying to take things back to where they were before things were combined by deed. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. Next thing on our agenda is impact assistance expenditures. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to encumber $600,000 of appropriate impact assistance funds to cover all final change orders on the Sage Creek Springs Project Phase 1 and to encumber $200,000 to fund the initial design phase of the SCADA replacement project.
Second.
SCADA.
There's been a motion made and seconded to encumber $600,000 of appropriated impact assistance funds to cover all the final change orders on the Sage Creek Springs Project Phase 1 and to encumber $200,000 to fund the initial design phase of the SCADA replacement project. Is there any discussion? And Councilman Garner?
I need to excuse myself for a conflict of interest on this one. So, thanks.
Councilman Smith?
I guess the question I have right out of the chute here. I wanted to know, and I guess this is a question for you, Tom. I thought we had appropriated and encumbered all of the impact assistance funds at budget time. So what I'm seeing or feeling is that there were funding that we didn't include in this, or are we taking off projects we said we were already gonna support, or what are we doing?
Well, the list that I received of the impact assistance projects, okay, and I came in at the end of that process, they totaled about 2.3 million, and that was one of the attachments that you had that outlined each of them. The actual budget that was passed, okay, was 4.1 million. So as I interpreted what was in the budget book is there was still over $1 million that was not appropriated to a project but included in the budget. So the budgetary funds that were approved were not just identified to certain projects. And so all that we were wanting to do here was identify 2 more projects basically to add to the list that the budget's already been approved. Now, if items were taken off that list, I don't know if they had been. I don't believe that they were.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't.
Double book it?
Yeah. No, actually, I wasn't aware that we had any more money on that list, so thank you.
And there is sufficient funds within the Choke Cherry Fund for this as well, because this would have to come under Choke Cherry. And so I made sure that of the 3.8 million that we had budgeted expenditures there, that all this would fall within the Choke Cherry funds, and it would.
Any other questions? No. Hearing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 5 yeas.
All right. Next thing on our agenda is we're asked to approve a Sage Creek Spring pipeline replacement change order. I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve Sage Creek Basin Spring Pipeline Replacement Change Order number 05 of $50,000 to reimburse Rocky Mountain Industrial Construction Services, LLC, for materials and associated overhead costs which were not already in the original contract.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the Sage Creek Basin Spring Pipeline Replacement Change Order number 5 of $50,000 to reimburse Rocky Mountain Industrial Construction Services, LLC, for materials and associated overhead costs which were not already in the original contract. Is there any discussion? And Austin, I take it you'll explain this?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the work that was done in the field was effectively unplanned in terms of what we had for documentation showing what was built in the past. Some of the documentation that we had, well, some of the only documentation we had was from 1924. And so a lot of work had been done up there. And there were lines that were not located, and just the plans as an emergency project. And the nature of an emergency project is just trying to get the work accomplished with what you have and the materials that you need to acquire. In this case, the city had done some advanced purchasing of materials for the pipe and some of the fittings and things of that nature. But in that, the standard process would be that the contractor purchases and procures these materials included in the bid. These materials were not included in the original bid, and so this is effectively just materials through a change order purchased through the contractor, not originally included in the original contract. So this is to complete the project on those materials, and that includes PVC fittings. There's just a large number variety of things that were acquired. And then we worked with Rocky Mountain Industrial, with Jeff Alvey, and he's been so helpful in returning the materials that we didn't use. So there will be some balance at some point of materials being reimbursed, but the lion's share is in the field and being used right now to bring you water. So with that, do you have any questions?
I don't see any. So thank you. Would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve a resolution authorizing a grant. Councilman Smith.
I move to approve a resolution authorizing submission of a Wyoming Community Development Authority Community Development Block Grant for the purpose of repairing and replacing the City of Rollins water infrastructure transmission line and air and blow-off valves.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing submission of a Wyoming Community Development Authority Community Development Block Grant for the purpose of repairing and replacing the City of Rollins water infrastructure transmission line and air and blow-off valves. Is there any discussion? I will let you explain, Andrea.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, as I explained just briefly earlier, we are in the process of applying for CDBG grants. They're only accepting 2 grants per municipality or entity this year. And we did a strategic planning process on the phases and what we want to accomplish with the grants and how we're going to puzzle together the money to pay to accomplish these different phases. And out of that, and also given some recent events that have transpired, we decided to prioritize the transmission line because that's where we're still working on and we still need funding for it. And so that would be the first one.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing and hearing none, would you please open online voting?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Next thing on our agenda is to approve another resolution authorizing grant. I would entertain a motion. Vice Mayor Wells.
Move to approve a resolution authorizing the submission of a Wyoming Community Development Authority Community Development Block Grant to update the supervisory control and data acquisition system for the City of Rollins treatment plants.
I'll second that.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing the submission of a Wyoming Community Development Authority Community Development Block Grant to update this supervisory control and data acquisition system for the City of Rollins treatment plants. Is there any discussion? And again, Andrea, or excuse me, Councilman Garner.
I have to excuse myself on this one for conflict.
Hey, Andrea, would you tell us about it?
Yes, this is the second CDBG grant that I was referring through. And we intend to apply for close to $1 million for this one to pay for the supervisory control acquisition data analysis system. And I would turn it over to Austin to talk about what the problems are with that at this point, because he's obviously, as an engineer, much more familiar with that than I am.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, City Council. So at the city, we've done some of this SCADA in a way that is both beneficial to the city and also to the IT department, where it's just a good blend, where Josiah Peterson is the one who's been working through the SCADA system, the existing SCADA system that we have. And so he's effectively taken up the role of managing this SCADA project. We're currently in a crisis, and I mentioned in the last city council meeting that if we were to lose power or have a shortage right now, we're not sure if our PLCs will boot up, that we'll get our information back. So we might be in a situation where our operators are going to have to physically go look at assets in the field, to go take measurements by hand at different facilities that we have in our asset management program. So it's just really important that we get the SCADA system back up to being a top-notch system. I know it's been something that's not been discussed. It's not been in our capital plan for a full replacement, but we have just come to a point with bringing on additional consultants and looking at our assets in the field that we need to include this in our future capital plan, and at this time in the CDBG grant, as this is a crisis because we do not know when the system will go down and we will have no information readily available. You remember during the crisis, we had that really cool screen that showed the tank levels, the flows, chlorination, turbidity. If we lose this system, you will not have that anymore, and nor will our operators. So it's just really, really critical for us to have this available to our staff. So it's the supervisory control and data acquisition system. This is, I'm speaking from Josiah's notes right now. This is a system that will monitor our current status. 87% of our sensors are controlled by PLCs. The other 13% are on Motorola devices. And looking at what is critical and non-critical data, about 84% of our critical sensors, 84% of our sensors and controls are critical, and that 16% are non-critical sensors and controls. And so 14% of the critical sensors lie on the Motorola devices, and 86% are on the PLCs. So it's really the same numbers. If we lose these, we're going to be flying blind. It's really important that we get this CDBG grant application through. I encourage you to do that. So with that, I feel like I have spoken enough.
Councilman Smith?
Could I ask, I think that SCADA system, I know there was one that was put in there in 1980 something when that was built, but I'm not sure when the updates occurred, but it's quite old, as I remember.
Yes, absolutely. And so the PLCs that we have, these programmable logic controllers, they have copper connections. It's not fiber. This is technology from, I believe, the early 2000s. If you wish to purchase new PLCs, and our PLCs we're losing them right now, slowly in a cascading effect, we're losing them one at a time, one port at a time. Those you can go buy on eBay, and they came from another facility, and you don't know how many ports are good on those controllers. So you can try to replace in kind, but they're no longer being manufactured. You cannot buy them new. It is done. That time has passed, and we are in a new generation of technology. So we're in a position where we're going to have to acquire an entirely new system so it all works together cohesively and effectively for our operators.
Any other questions or discussion? Please open online voting.
Just make sure he unplugs it and plugs it back in before we buy a new one.
Sounds good.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you, Austin.
Online voting has closed and the motion carries with 5 yeas. And Councilmember Gardner absent.
All right. Next thing on our agenda is to go into executive session, and Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to go into executive session at 9:35 PM per Wyoming statute 164405 to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law and to consider or receive any information classified as, that was in there twice. And to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer, unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated. Following the hearing or executive session, the governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to go into executive session at 9:35 PM. Any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 60 days.